whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to start in my traditional manner by thanking all of the councillors for the hard work that you invest in our county and city. I know in these difficult times, we don't always get the opportunity to thank you. And I particularly want to thank the people in the back rooms who produce all of the documentation that goes along with all of the consultations and meetings, particularly that 500 pages that was produced for the 23rd of September session with the combined authority, which sadly, thank you to Councillor Bick, didn't surface, wasn't discussed, but did contain a lot of great information and ideas that we really do need to work collaboratively on in the future to ensure that we can move forward together rather than subjugating the democratic process and the 90% of people who on repeated occasions voted against the congestion charge, Councillor Bick. So moving on to my question, concerns the Making Connections 2022 consultation raw data posted on the website. There was a lot of unstructured text collected in that survey, which had to go through, I believe, a process of redaction. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, that still hasn't been presented on the website or fed back to the population for their analysis. So, succinctly put, when will we get those results? When will we be able to see that unstructured survey result? What was the deduplication process involved in ensuring that one person didn't sit there and enter multiple entries? Was it automatic? Was it manual? What was the workflow for that process? And what's been the chain of custody since we're still waiting for that information many months later? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ian. I'll take a couple more and then we'll come back to you. Jenny, I'll come back to a couple of the points that you made in a moment, but Lynn, do you have some answers to what we've heard so far?
Yes, thank you, Chair. To Mr. Black first on data. In response to your query about when the free text data will be redacted, it's worth explaining that here we've got to balance a couple of important competing commitments here. So there's our duty to and commitment to transparency, and then there's our legal duty under UK GDPR legislation, and on top of that there's a requirement to achieve value for money in public expenditure. So you'll hopefully appreciate that reviewing and redacting about 150,000 individual text responses, so potentially identifying information, both in individual things and in combination with other answers that the same person has given, could be a very expensive undertaking. We've commissioned some digital redaction, but we are in the process of QA checking that because, of course, we have a duty that we take very seriously to ensure we're compliant with privacy law before we release that. So we will publish it in due course, but we will make sure we don't do so until we can be confident that we're compliant with the law. In response to a question about the way in which the data was processed, the survey was hosted on Consult Cams, which is a web platform that the County Council use and the GCP use. Response to the questionnaire wasn't limited by IP address to ensure that we didn't restrict access for those using shared computers in public spaces or student accommodation or indeed family members from the same household. Neither was registration or provision of personal details mandatory because that's part of consultation best practice to not put up barriers that might discourage participation, especially from those groups who tend to be underrepresented and are more likely to be put off by those sorts of questions. For that reason, the process of deduplication was undertaken after the data had been downloaded and shared with the team doing the analysis and processing. The consultation report sets out the automatic and manual checks that we undertook. That was both on the respondent identifying data where provided and on the free text responses. As I said, they're explained in the consultation report. But in addition to checking the free text, we also reviewed responses from those that went into the survey and only answered question 9, which was the question about support or opposition to the STZ, just to test whether we thought this was a large issue. It turned out only about 1% of the total sample that responded to the questionnaire only responded to question 9, and of those respondents, 98% were strongly opposed to the STZ. Just a final point, I would challenge your point on 90% opposed. Our survey showed that 58% were opposed to the STZ and 42% were in favour, and so that statistic's not quite accurate. I think that's covered that one. On Ms Williams' question